Okay, let's get started. Here we are, another episode of WealthLab Strategy Trading. Hey
Hi,
Volker.
everybody.
Hey VK, how
Hi,
are you doing?
doing good. So, what do we have today?
Gonna start out by just running my version of the meta strategy. Okay, here we are. Here's our current result. So let's take a look. Looks like we're now sitting at a 25% annualized return over the past 3 years, and the drawdown is currently at 1%. So we are close to finally coming back from that large drawdown, like nearly 20% here, like about 17, 18%. So things are things are looking good in the meta strategy. So what are we going to talk about this week? Any ideas, Volker?
Well, we wanted to talk about the 1% per week system and the variation that he, a WealthLab user, is actually even posting on LinkedIn. I commented it the other day. And he has several variations, and I'm not sure which one you checked out. I think one of them. And let's see how that is doing in comparison. And I would say I wouldn't always take the best strategy because it has the best backtesting result. So I'm curious to see how this is doing in comparison to the original.
Okay.
Because I think the more you add to a strategy, the more it could be vulnerable. Let's put it this way. So let's see.
Okay. So to summarize, here's the original 1% a week strategy. It's already part of our meta strategy, and the rules are very simple. You observe the open of Monday, then you calculate 1% below the open price and you put a limit order to buy TQQQ is the symbol that this trades on. So you try to buy TQQQ at 1% below Monday's open, and you leave that order open throughout the whole week. And if you get filled, then you exit at a 1% profit target on the following day that you got filled. If you're experiencing a 0.5% or more loss on the trade, then you try to exit at a break even. So those are the rules. And then at the end of the week, on Friday, the last day of the trading week, if you're still open, then you just exit at market close. So let's just run the basic 1% a week. We see it has an annualized return of 36%. Here's the equity curve, and here it is in log scale. And it starts back in 2010. That's when TQQQ began trading. So this is the baseline 1% a week. And now let's take a look at a variation, like you mentioned, published by a WealthLab user, Guy Fleury. He has a blog. Let's take a quick look at his blog. Okay, so if you go to the WealthLab website here, if you go to the blog link, then we have a direct link to his blog here. It's called Alpa Power Trading. So he has a whole series of posts and articles, many articles here about the 1% a week strategy. I mean, if I scroll down, you could just look at how many posts that he's created about retirement, about stock trading, and more recently about this 1% a week. He's created several variations of it, and I took one of his variations here, actually from this book that he wrote, Gain Your Financial Freedom. So if you open up this PDF, he's got quite a bit of writing and content about the 1% a week. And here at the end of his PDF, he's got another link here where you click on that and then you finally get the code. So this is the code that I took for our little evaluation here. and I have it running here in this strategy. So what has changed? Let's take a look. So it looks like one of the changes here is he's actually placing the order not 1% below the open price, but actually like slightly above the open price. So he's basically always getting into the trade. So he's not waiting to see if the market goes, if TQQQ goes down a further 1%. He's just always getting in basically at the Monday's open. So that's one thing I noticed right away here.
So just thinking, he gets in on Monday's open and he gets out on Friday's close.
Yeah, he's got some limit orders here. So he has a target price, which is set to the entry price of the trade. And then if the profit is greater than zero, then he multiplies this profit target by 7%. And then if the profit is greater than this zero point 0.3 threshold, then he's multiplying it by another 1.011. So he's kind of getting like a dynamic profit target here. And then if the
Hmm.
trade is still open at the end of the week, he exits it just like the original system.
Okay, give it a run.
All right, let's take a look. So
Wow.
we have an annualized return of 54.3%, which does beat our original annualized return of 36%. So what other things do we want to look at here? Max drawdown. So let's see, the original max drawdown of 1% a week is 45%. And with Guy's revision, it is up to 55%. So it has increased the maximum drawdown.
Hmm. Quite a bit by 20%. The other one was 45, this is 55. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the equity curve.
Hmm. Yeah, I see it.
So here's a comparison of the equity curve. The revised strategy is on the left and the original is on the right. What do you think?
I mean, it's more aggressive. Let's put it this way. It's definitely more aggressive by going in all the time. I would like to see the drawdown a little bit to see, um, and yeah, it definitely has more high drawdowns, like in 2000, what is it, 16 again, and even lately this one is also it has more high drawdowns. I don't know. It's interesting. I would probably try. I don't like. I don't see the logic in going in all the time and going out at the end of the week. I could stay in. Why would I go out at the end of the week here? If my entry rule is buy on Mondays open,
Yeah,
that's the logic.
that's a good
You
point.
know that that's the one thing that I don't. If there would be another filter, I personally would rather buy a little bit lower. A filter that I would probably do in is uh, buy if the open is below Friday's close or something like this. If I want to buy like this, I it's a kind of a philosophy. Um,
Well, I mean, here's one consideration. So here's one that exited at the close, but
and then
then
on Monday,
it
yeah,
opened, see how the market again gapped down. So it
yeah,
actually, if we would have just held this, then we would have kind of lost the
hmm,
kind of the profit of entering at a lower price here on Monday.
yeah. I mean, and you see the next one is even more. How can I say that? I mean, you see it buys it at the low of that period in April 25.
Hmm.
It's an excellent buy. So yeah, I might not be totally right with my philosophy.
I mean, this one on the right is the original 1% a week, and see how it exited here at 2.2% profit on this
Mm,
trade on the following day, whereas Guy's variation gave
kept
it a
it.
chance to capture more of the profit, and this one wound up as an 8% winner.
Mm. Yeah, I see the idea. The one thing is, mm, could I, the last trade in none of my strategy, I would have taken the last trade because the open was already so high, so much above anything that was and the previous bars, that I would have thought this already includes all the profits
So you
for
mean
that.
you would have second guessed the strategy? I mean, didn't somebody just write an article about not doing that?
No, no, I would not second guess it. My rule would never, my rule would probably say if the open is above the highest high of all the 5 bars before, then don't buy it. Or if the open is higher, 5% above yesterday's close,
But what if
don't buy it.
what if you coded that rule and tested it and it proved to actually reduce the profit? Would you still keep that rule just because of your own
No,
kind of
no, no, no.
cognitive bias?
If I, no, no. If I would have tested it,
I mean,
and
you're just assuming that rule would have somehow improved the result. Maybe it wouldn't.
well, something to try out. But that's just from everything that I do. I think once it opens up so high, the chances are less.
I
From
mean, but
my, I,
but that
I
that's
would run
just
it.
your feeling. You haven't tested it.
Not on that strategy. Absolutely right. It's but I tested it on many other strategies. So since I like to buy low and sell higher, I don't like to buy high.
Okay.
Let's put it this way.
Well,
And
I mean, what I kind of like is that it allowed this trade to get like a higher profit.
that
What it,
is very interesting.
I mean, what if we change it to keep like the rule where it has to, still go down like 1% to get in, but keep kind of this profit target in place.
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea. Like because um, that's an idea. That's something you should or could try.
I'm going to
That's the
try it. I'm
beauty.
going to try it right now. So here's the buy. And so all I think I need to do is change this mult to 0.99 signal
Hmm.
here, or buy statement. So let's see, we have 54.3% and a max drawdown of 55. Let's run it with this change. So we still have a max drawdown of 55, and we have a lower annualized profit of only 44.
Yeah, because you probably have less trades and actually, yeah. Well, but it looks for me it looks a little bit smoother. To be honest,
Hmm.
it, it looks a little bit smoother, but that's
Well,
just
we definitely eliminated this large kind of drawdown here in this period.
yeah, a couple of them.
So if we go back and we run it now, you're going to see this big drawdown happen right here.
Mhm.
See?
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah, this was
Huge.
a big drawdown. So just by
And
putting back the
yeah, that's
kind
yeah.
of 1% entry criteria, sure, we don't have quite as high of an overall return, but we've eliminated this kind of massive drawdown. I mean, we still have
Mhm.
the big drawdown back in, kind of the early, around 2010, 2011. We have like a large drawdown, but after that, the largest drawdown was basically less than 1 year. So I don't know. I kind of like this combination, variant here. I'm saving this variant as the name Rev 2, revision 2,
Okay. Oh, you're gonna include it?
and I'm going to include it. Yeah, I'm going to see how it impacts the result. So I'm going to drag it over, and let's adjust the settings here. So we make it 5% of equity, which is the allocation. Let's double check that. 1% a week is 5% of equity. Yep. And it's trading on TQQQ. So let's disable the original 1% a week. So let's remove that. And let's run it with this variation. So 25.88, almost 26%.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're still at our like 1% drawdown. So let me open up the original and let's run that and let's do a side-by-side comparison. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, it's definitely not as good.
So with the revised, we have 25.88 annualized. Here we have 24% annualized. I'd consider replacing 1% a week with this kind of revision too. Let's look at our profit curves. So here's our profit curves. So here we've got the blue, and this one is 1% a week, revision 2. So it's kind of coming up like right here. And then the other meta strategy, the original run, the 1% a week is kind of this gray one. So see how much farther down it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Like on this one, it's like all the way down here. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, I would tend toward. So I mean, this is strategy is only a 5% allocation of the overall meta
Yeah.
strategy, so it's not going to have like a huge impact. But I mean, I think the result is, I mean, it seems good enough to include. What do you think?
I think the include is I would either exchange it or
Right. I mean, swap it out.
slightly better.
The back test does not lie.
Yeah. It's not an GPT.
So
It doesn't lie.
okay,
It
so
doesn't.
I'm going to swap this out in my trading, and I'm going to use this Rev 2 variation of the 1% a week,
Okay, cool.
starting next week, starting Monday.
Okay.
We'll see how it
And I
goes.
think if you show your back test, it doesn't influence it that much in historically. So that's good. Yeah.
And some other news, I'm going to start a weekly kind of live stream, I think, for the Patreon members. So I think I'm going to do it every Thursday. So we'll get together on Discord and brainstorm different ideas of improving the meta strategy, maybe adding some new strategies, trading different markets. Um, you're welcome to join that, Volker. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my plan.
Good. Good.
Let's see
Yeah.
what we can do to keep improving this and keep beating the market.
Good idea. Let's do that.
All right. Well, thanks for
Okay.
watching this week, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for watching and good luck and follow your system. Read the article. Test smart, trade smarter.
Test smart, trade smarter. And we will
Yeah.
then see you all on the forums. Bye.
Bye.